2.
This hour of the Alan Autry Show is sponsored by Sinlong, the most realistic artificial grass in the Central Valley.
From NFL quarterback to Hollywood to the mayor's office and now behind the mic at KXEX, this is the Alan Autry Show. No retreat.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
What the hell's going on out here? Everybody grabbing out there. Nobody. That the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Today, I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth.
I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
So, 5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable. Free at last! Free at last! Thank God Almighty! We are free.
You're listening to the Alan Autry Show on the best talk in town. Talk Radio 1550 KXEX.
And welcome to Alan Autry No Retreat. This is old Alan Autry, so honored and humble to have you with us today with Philip Villanueva, man in the controls and co-hosting. Welcome, my young brother. Today we're just going to talk about just different topics that are popping up in the news. The Olympics are over. I mean, not that I'm not anti-Olympic, but dad gum. How many events? You know pickleball is going to be in there in 2028. I mean, goodness gracious, the number of events that were going on, you lose track of them. And back in the day, it was the big event in the Olympics was a decathlon. That's where you crowned the world's greatest athlete. They have a bunch of different events: pole vault, long jump, hurdles, sprints, distance running. And you got points on that, and that was a bit. Now it's hardly mentioned. I mean, you've got these very obscure sports. Taekwondo. Now that's kind of exciting. You just fight with your feet. Punches and everything. That's what I did. Olympic sport. But anyway, it was just too much for me, and I'm happy that people got together, and. Really happy that our men's and women's basketball team continues to I wouldn't say dominate the rest of the world in basketball. The rest of the world's catching up, but I think the women won like their 6th to-go medal in a row, the men 4th or 5. And, out of that, one of the most memorable things I'll remember is, yes, the competition. Simone Biles, congratulations to her, these legendary figures that did a great job for America, and the other athletes from around the world, a big tip of the hat. They worked 4 long years for that one moment. But Kevin Durant said something that I think is going to be a patriotic mantra for the younger generation. And if you're an older guy like me, you kind of appreciate it a lot. The way it was said in a way that, probably I wouldn't. Guys and women my age probably wouldn't, the boomers. But I get what he was saying, and it was this. America was being criticized, all of our issues that we have with our struggle with racial equality, all of the battles that we fight societally goes all over the world. And the far left has done a great job in demonizing this country, like no other country has to go through some of the same problems, including slavery. And we've done a great job of overcoming that. We waited way too long for the rights of our black brothers and sisters to vote, for women to vote. You could go on down the line, but we have a Constitution that not only allowed those things like that to be rectified, they demanded it. With every man and woman is born with inalienable rights, which are life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. And the Bill of Rights, that every individual has these individual rights. That's why I'm so staunchly behind it and don't want to get caught up in this group right thing. That's a group. That's what the KKK, if you're part of this white supremacist group or you're part of this group, then anything you say or do is going to be right because we have your back, no matter how egregious the act. As long as you're part of this group, we'll protect you. That's a very dangerous place to be. But Kevin Durant said something that I'll just go ahead and quote. You've probably seen it already. He says, in America, a lot of BS, I won't say the word, but a lot of BS happens, but a lot of great things happen too. Doesn't that sum this country up? I mean, it's acknowledging, yeah, in America, a lot of BS happens, but a lot of great things happen too. And I think the younger generation really resonated with me. Very simple, to the point, but I think illustrates and really tells the truth about America in a way that doesn't give the impression that we think we're perfect or better than anybody else, but also acknowledges our exceptionalism in many ways. So I don't know if Kevin probably just came up with that on the spur of the moment, which most great quotes do, but a tip of the hat to him. Okay, let's get right to this shotgun. Oh, yes, I'm going to tell you. Donald Trump, you hear it all over the news, Donald Trump is in cognitive decline. He's not as sharp as he used to be, this and that. I agree, but not like Joe Biden decline. I'm going to tell you what I'm concerned about Trump. They're pushing him beyond the limits of a man half his age can handle. The man's 78. You can't do rally after rally after rally. You get shot at. That's traumatizing. You get part of your ear blown off, come within a millimeter of being killed. You go on to the next rally, and you keep on, interview after interview. And I get it. He and his team is trying to show how, at his age, how much vitality he had. And that was kind of their message against Joe Biden. Strength and vitality against old weakness. And it worked. Biden's gone. Now the narrative is kind of flipped. You've got this young lady, 50, well, by standards compared to Trump and Biden, young, 59, going to be 60 years old. Very vital, vitality and full of energy. And now they're trying to flip this on Trump. And again, yeah, he's tired. And I would really advise him and his advisors get some rest, because here's the deal with him. By all accounts, he sleeps about 3 to 5 hours a night. You can only do that so long before it catches up to you. You know, there's an old saying, Father Time is undefeated. Now, he is still very, very sharp. Sharp enough to be president? You bet. No doubt about that. But if you wear down, Vince Lombardi had a saying. It's really true about a football team, about anybody. He said, fatigue makes cowards of us all. Now, I mean, when you get run down, coward, you for one thing, your mind isn't as sharp. Your mouth speaks ahead of your brain. And in a situation like running for president, when you have hundreds of cameras on you, following you around all the time, waiting for that gotcha moment, anything that comes out of your mouth that they can take and spin into something negative against you, and in this case, to try to show that you're the old dude now. You're the one cognitively challenged. You're the one that's on the doorstep of dementia, if not in the house right now at the dinner table of dementia. Okay, that's what they're trying to do with him. My point is, get some rest. And I would suspect, don't know for sure, I'm just gathering from watching this guy for several years. My gut feeling, not based on any inside dope, because I don't know his family. I did business with Ivanka and Donald Trump here in Fresno when I was mayor. Got to know them somewhat, but not to the deep of personal traits about Donald Trump or who has the influence. But I do know this from various sources, and Trump does not refute this, that his sons, Eric and Don, had great influence on him in his conservative beliefs. They were conservative long before he was. And they would sit down and talk. And apparently it worked because Trump became a Republican and won the presidency as a Republican. But I think he had listened to his sons. And I hope Eric and Don have a way to effectively tell him, however Trump code that you have to deliver, that it comes to this. Pop, you need to get some rest. You need to get some rest. Let's cut back on the rallies. Let's don't schedule any until the day I feel, and I think it's shared by many, and it may be shared by you. I think many of you would agree with me that September 10th is going to be the pivotal day of reckoning for this race. September 10th is the first debate that President Trump and Kamala Harris are going to have to take. Estimates are right now that upwards to 50 to 80 million people will be watching. That's just off the charts. No debate is even close. Even the first Biden, not the first Biden-Trump debate, but this past one, when Joe lost his place and pretty much lost his position as president. That's when the whole Democratic Party turned on him. This debate, and I understand it's on hostile territory for Trump, meaning ABC, but not as hostile if it would be at, say, MSNBC. I thought CNN's moderators, Jake Tapper and Dana Bash, did a great job during the Biden-Trump debate. But if this debate, well, either way it goes, even if it's fixed, if Kamala gets the questions ahead of time, which they say nobody does, but we know that that's not true. I do believe that Joe Biden didn't get them last election because they wanted him out of there. The media clearly are ganging up. 99% of the media want Harris to win. They're throwing all of their resources, all of their informational gunpowder at Trump. So even if she's fed the questions, Trump needs to find a way and have a strategy to be effective in that debate. And he has to win that debate. And he has to make people think twice about Kamala Harris because, make no mistake, everything that's going on, high inflation, open borders, crime in the streets, endless wars, the world's blowing up, and none of these issues seem to be a top priority for this administration. You've got a deficit that has spiraled $47 trillion, which was fueled by the Biden spending. And Trump has a little bit of culpability on that issue. But unless you can point that out in an effective way and get people to understand that she can't run from it. Right now, Joe Biden did an interview the other day. He said, I'm going to help Kamala Harris in any way she wants me to help. Well, you know what she wants you to help? Go to the basement and stay there. They don't want him anywhere around their campaign. If you know, she hasn't mentioned in one rally Bidenomics. She hasn't mentioned one time. Now, prior to that, Kamala Harris said all of these policies, open door policies, the inflation, that there was no inflation, then inflation is good, then inflation is transitory, and then finally accepted that, no, it's here to stay and it hurts. Kamala Harris said more than once she was the last person in the room with Biden before he made a decision. In other words, hey, all this stuff that's happening, it was me, moi. I agree. He wouldn't have done it unless I was on board. He had to get my okay. I was the last one in his ear. Infrastructure bill, me, Kamala. All right? Open border, me. I did it. All this, and then you put the positive things, the capping of insulin prices, that was me. She's got a record. Now, what she's trying to do is run from that. And what Trump is really doing is the big gaffe of taking the bait. When asked about her race, he says, I don't know when she turned black. Then when asked about her crowd sizes that she's having, people don't realize in that interview where he says, well, it's artificial intelligence. There wasn't that many people there because they knew how to get under his skin. Yep. And his campaign knows, and he knows, that you could say 99% of your speech, fabulous, policy-driven, good stuff that could change the mind of the most ardent left woke to consider voting for you because you put your record against her record, but you make a comment about race and a comment about crowd sizes and comments about this and that have nothing to do, just personal attacks or whatever. I don't think she's that smart. But what do you think this media is going to use? That 99% of substantive stuff that you talked about, all of that good stuff that makes sense, that is very, very effective in convincing people to vote for you? No, they're going to use that, and you did it because you're tired, and when you get tired and things needle you to begin with, it's going to take less of it. Crowd size, to want to be funny on stuff that's off taste not funny, you're going to it's just something he's got to stop. It's going to be the thing that he is going to undo him. And so by September 10th, they need to have a fresh, clear thinking, ready to go Donald Trump. Or, you know what? That's me kissing this election goodbye. Bye-bye. So long. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Alan Autry Show on the best talk in town. Talk Radio 1550 KXEX.
I'm going to get in trouble. You can't say any, if you're on the right or the left, that's why I'm an independent. Wow. Yeah, and I think there's a lot of folks out there that agree. I may be wrong, but you got to call out dumb when it's dumb. Not calling the person dumb, but you just got to be truthful. And if it's somebody that you let, I'm more truthful with my family with me, thank God. Hey, Dad, I got to tell you this about this that you're doing. I appreciate that. I need that. My family doesn't feel good at the time, but I thank God I have friends, real friends that are going to point these things out to me. Nowadays, to be a good Democrat, man, you got to put the blinders on. And there's nothing wrong with what Eric Swalwell or AOC says. Boom. A Republican, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Bobart, no matter what they say. Gates, boom, boom. Yeah, they're good. Yeah, that's just not me. All right.
Let's come back.
Let's get back.
You're listening to the Alan Autry Show on the best talk in town. Talk Radio 1550 KXEX.
Okay, welcome back. Taking a little drink of agua here. Well, I don't know how many listeners or viewers we lost going to break there, but saying that Trump needs to stop being so thin-skinned. I mean, he's got the skin the thickness of cellophane.
No, you don't think he's
of that cheap aluminum, not the good Reynolds wrap, the cheap generic aluminum, man. I mean, and they know that. We used to call them in sports, Philip, we call it having rabbit ears. In baseball especially, you'd start razzing people out there, and you could find out, a guy would have a long nose or whatever. Hey, third baseman, that nose gets to the party a half hour before you do. Oh, yeah. And then, most of the good ones, good athletes, kept a focus, smiled, knocked off. But the ones that got under the skin, man, you knew you had them.
Now, you don't think he's gotten a little bit better at it?
No.
No, nothing at all. No
he's
credit.
Because he's tired.
He's tired. Oh.
The man's tired. Who wouldn't be? He is not Superman. And listen, what I worry about Trump. And I don't wish this on, I'm voting for him. Because I got to vote policy over personality. My goodness, look at what's going on. How can you vote for that? How can you vote for open borders, high inflation, endless wars, crime in the streets, budget-busting bills that pay off cronies? You can't do that. And if that was Republicans doing that, I'd call them out. It just happens to be a team of Democrats doing it. I can't vote for that. But at the same time, Trump, what I worry about him physically is people like him that I've noticed in life that go, only 3 hours of sleep, live on Diet Cokes. Remember that? Give me a Diet Coke. They don't kind of fade into the sunset slowly. It like happens quick. An event. The body goes along so long and then it just shuts off. And what are you talking about? I don't know, heart attack, stroke, this, that. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. You just go, the tank goes. I worry about that with him. He's got to find a way to relax and get more rest, and in his mind, not see that as a show of weakness. It's a show of wisdom. That you're smart when you say, I need to pull back a little bit. I need to tap the brakes a little bit because I'm going too hard. I'm not going to be any good to the country. If I blow a gasket before I get elected, or if I do get elected and I'm so freaking worn out, I can't get on the plane and go over and try to broker peace to the Middle East because I'm just too worn out. That happens when you get in your late 70s. Happens to a lot of people earlier. Man, I'm 72 and I've got to calibrate. I've got to watch how I do things. And, how much I do, still effective. I think people say, hey, would you run for office again? Probably not, but I think I could do it because I'd know how to get my rest. Reagan did. Reagan turned it off at 5. Now, if there was an emergency, he was always available. But he said, look, I'd rather have 8 hours of my staff and myself working, giving it everything we've got, than work 12, 14 hours a day. And those last 5, 6 hours, you get diminishing returns. You just wear you and your staff out. So anyway, a couple quick things here. Breaking news. We got a submarine and a aircraft carrier over in the Middle East, close to Iran, waiting for the response of the Ayatollahs and folks there in Iran to the acts of Israel. We took out a couple of their key members of the terrorist group, Hamas and Hezbollah. One of them there in Iran. That's where the rub is. And Iran has promised a very big, very significant response. What that is, well, that's what our military is waiting on. The whole Middle East is waiting on. The whole world is waiting on. But it's over there, so I don't know what that means.
With folks, Donald Trump Jr. here.
With Joe Biden at the helm still, and, the famous, hey, don't cross this. Here's the red line, don't cross it. Well, they did in the Middle East. Syria did, and Obama and Biden did nothing. So I don't know if those ships, what they would do with that military power if Iran launched a massive strike against Israel. It doesn't necessarily mean just because they're there that anything would happen. So things are getting real dicey there, as in Ukraine. You saw where Ukraine just went into Russian territory. So things, and I warn people about this escalation that could happen, and that's why you need good, strong leadership and the presidency of the United States. So we lead the way on this. Historically, we always have, because we still are the biggest economic power. China closing fast on the inside. I understand, but still right now, economically, militarily, we're still the world power, and there's an obligation of that world power to get involved and to try to bring about peace here. So anyway, that's happened. Okay, you know what? We're going to take, how much time we got left here, Phil? 12 minutes. Okay, I'm going to do, I know some people are going to laugh at this, but I'm an independent politically. I've said if you, for a strong border, for lower taxes, for school choice, for being very, very cautious before entering a war overseas, that if you were for law and order and you were a Democrat, I'd consider you. I consider voting for you. I haven't seen any Democrat come anywhere close to embracing that agenda. They say this Josh Shapiro does a little bit. They say, Joe Manchin somewhat. Thank goodness for Joe. He was more of a fiscal conservative. It doesn't make any difference. It's what you do. Why would I care about a letter that you put by your name? Why would I care if you're an elephant or a donkey is your mascot? Why would anybody care? You got to ask yourself that. In my household growing up, it was said, you vote the man, not the party. Now, it should be the man or the woman. I get that. We needed to progress. But that's me, the person and the policies. Because personality will not hurt people. You got control whether that hurts you or not. Somebody says some bad things, acts a certain way like Trump or Kamala Harris or this Tom Waltz saying some horrible things about J.D. Vance. You can let that bother you because you have a choice. But policies, many times, you don't have a choice. You don't have a choice when the policies that allow 11, 15 million people in here in this country that you don't know, that wear an ankle monitor, and they kidnap your child and kill them. You don't have control over that, those policies. The big, heavy hand of the federal government has that. Inflationary policies that make it impossible to put gas in your tank and food on your table. You go a half a tank or a quarter of a tank, and you put that on a credit card. And then you go around, well, now I can't have salami. I got to go bologna and white bread. You know, people laugh at that. Hey, we're heading that way. There's people, there's families right now that are making that decision. Though that's a policy. That can hurt me and you and our kids. Because they say, how can you support Trump and do that? I support the policies. The policies of good government and bad government were around long before Trump was even born. He didn't come up with lower taxes, help American individuals, families, and businesses. Excuse me. He didn't come up with law and order and being tough on crime and having safe neighborhoods were important to a civil society, the United States of America. He didn't come up with that. That was been around since our founding. All of these things that you think if you get rid of Trump, those things will go away. And I tell you, there's people on the left who not only believe that, they think that would be just fine. They think open borders are just fine. Now, it brings me to this. Do a little quick rundown. How much time then, Phil? 19 minutes. Okay. With that little setup, hopefully it made a little bit of sense. Excuse me. When you come to Lake Autry, you just got to throw your line out there and hope you catch something. If I'm biting. I go every day is free for all Friday now. I've made that decision. But let's just, excuse me, let's go over their priorities, Harris and Trump, side by side. And I'm not going to editorialize politically. I promise you I won't. It may sound like it if you're a Harris supporter or if you're a Trump supporter. You may, some things here you may not like. But this is just my opinion based on a lot of fact. In fact, I'm going to keep my own personal opinion out of it. Okay, let's look at Harris and her priorities. These are things you should be thinking about. You need to be thinking about it. You know, I know I come from a movie background, but I'm not going to be overly dramatic, I don't think, when I say this. Your kids and your grandkids and great-grandkids' future is going to depend on the decisions you make coming up in November. We're at that pivotal moment. If this country keeps going the way it is, we will not be able to retrieve it in the next 100 years. The policies are too embedded. And if you like the way it's going, then you do. I don't understand it. Why you want to do that to yourselves and your kids. As J.D. Vance says, you know, he says the country's run by single people that don't have kids. And I know he said that kind of awkward and this and that, and it probably shouldn't have said it the way he did. But there was a point in there that if you don't care about the future, if you just, hey, I'm here and out, what do I care about what happens? That's the Bill Maher attitude. I think Bill Maher's funny. Really funny, but he says some things. I mean, he's an atheist. He says, and then in terms of pro-wise for abortion, he goes, I don't care if a lady has abortion. I don't know the kid. He said that. I don't know them. If I don't know them, I don't care. And there's people like that a lot, mostly on the left, that think you shouldn't bring a child into this world because it's so bad. And they would just as soon just make the best they can for themselves right now, get as much money, even to come from the government as you can, even if it bankrupts the country. So what? Because my concern begins and ends with me right now. That's a growing mindset. It's sad, it's hurtful, it's dangerous. Personally, I think we need to embrace policies that are polar opposite of that. Because leadership means having the courage to make decisions that affect the next generation, not just yours. That's real political courage. So let's go with Harris here. Okay. Her economic ideology is tax, okay, for raising taxes, spending, printing, if you don't have enough then, print. Well, first you borrow. If you run out of that, then you print more money. So it's tax, spend, borrow, print, repeat. That's their thing is government spending can solve any problem in your life. You don't need to keep money in your pocket with lower taxes because we know what's best for your money than you do. We'll send it back in programs that help you, that we've determined that you need. Okay? So there's no arguing that. They're for high taxes and government controlling where that money goes to benefit the most people. Okay? They do believe government is the answer. I just went over that. The answer to pretty much every problem that you have. Turn to the government, not to yourself, not to your community. Turn to government. That's why they'll say, we'll take care of you. That's been the mantra of the far left for years. That's the cornerstone of their beliefs. We will take care of you. Well, what exactly does that mean? Well, you don't need to know. Trust us. We'll give you what you need. Okay? But you got to take the vaccine when they tell you. You got to drive the car they tell you. You can go on and on. And so number 3 also, Kamala Harris has said this flat out over and over again. She believes America is systemically racist. Systemically racist. Still today. Meaning that's where she gets her equity today. That if you're a black person or person of color, in every system that we have is loaded with racism that you can't make it through there. Now you look at the Ivy League, the so-called, the gold standard of education, although they've done everything they can to tarnish that reputation. They're tripping over each other and has for years to get more minorities, grants, scholarships, people of color to come. I don't know a business, even a small business, that's not seeking out people of color to come on and be a part of their business. They're seeking them out. I can't think. Golf clubs that used to be the most racist, looking now to find people of color to join their golf clubs. I mean, it's not where it's finally going to be, which is hopefully a colorblind society, but it's nowhere near what it was during the years of slavery. Not even where it was during the 60s. Okay? But she believes America is systemically racist. Number 4, she is pro-choice with no exceptions. Oh, Alan, she was for Roe versus Wade. Yeah, she was for Roe versus Wade, but when you put her down and you press her on the subject, you ask her, is there a month of that life of that child that abortion is no longer an option for the mother? That fetus is now a human being that could not only live but thrive outside of the woman's body, and the woman decided for whatever reason to want to abort that baby, what would you do? Would you support her choice to do that at 8 months, 9 months? Number 1, she will not answer that, but she did answer it. She's on camera in a roundabout way, but clearly her deal was, I stay with the mother's right to choose no matter what. Even Roe versus Wade had a certain limit to when you could have an abortion. I forget what it was. It's a couple of months or whatever. I may be wrong on that. But that's where she stands on that. She does not believe that a secure border is a priority. Alan, I heard her the other day say the border is secure. Now, watch what she says. She says the border is secure. Remember that interview? When it wasn't, obviously. There was like caravans coming left and right, billions coming in. And she says the border is secure. But you notice what she didn't say. She didn't say she agreed with it being secure. Nobody pressed her on that. You just said it's secure. But should it be secure? Or should we let anybody in whenever they want to for whatever reason? I want to hear her answer that question. Hopefully September 10th, you've got moderators with enough courage to ask her that. But clearly it is not a priority. She was given the job to call it border czar or whatever. She was given that on her plate by Joe Biden, saying find out as much as you can about this border, and we need to fix it. Now, what does fix it mean? They try to hang that this bill that was in the Senate that had bipartisan support. Do you know that the Republicans torpedoed that so Trump could use it to win the election? You could buy that line of thinking if you want to. But here's the deal. Under that border bill, it still allowed 1.8 million illegal immigrants in here a year. Is that fixing the border? Take a moment to think about that. Oh, Alan, no. In that bill that they said was going to solve the problem of people pouring over to this country that we don't know, that there's 1.8 million allowed before you completely shut it down and put a moratorium on it for a while. That's a lot of people. A year, just a year, 12 months. And that's what people are talking about. That's why I said Republicans, man, where are you? Come back with that fact. Which she says, and she's going to use that in the debate. I hope they're ready for that. She's not for secure border. She believes, clearly, in her own words, that it's acceptable to have violent response to some social injustice, i.e. the George Floyd riots. She supported a nonprofit that bailed out, no questions asked. What did you do? Well, I was just there and got arrested, or I was there and shot somebody. It didn't matter. That question wasn't asked. You just get bailed out. She supported that. So obviously, me personally, I don't think violent response to social issues are allowed. That you go hurt innocent people, kill innocent people, burn down innocent people's property, the only business that they have, because you don't like something over here. You take it out on people had nothing to do with that. And that's why I've got a problem with Tom Walz, governor of Minnesota. 5 days it took him to deploy the National Guard. By that time, many businesses had burnt down. Billions of dollars in Minnesota, in Minneapolis, and many of them black-owned businesses. But we should be surprised? The people on the left don't care about black-on-black crime. If they did, they would clean up Chicago. They'd make it safe for a mother to have her kid walk to school in Chicago. Instead of being the murder capital of the world, we lose more young people, school age, grammar school and high school age, every night in Chicago than they do the rest of the country. They don't care. Why? It's black on black. You ever think about that? If you're a black person, why you allow that? It matters if it's a white cop, it's more egregious. Kill somebody, the person's just not quite as dead if a black person kills a black, or a white person kills a white person. I'm not going to get that upset. If it's a black person killing a white person, then I'm going to really get outraged, as if the person that was killed is going to be less dead if a white dude killed him than a black person. It makes no sense to me. A life is precious. Every life is a gift from God. Why would you accept that? But it's clear. Walsh could have moved in. Businesses were being burnt down, as I said. People were being injured, killed. And mostly people you and Kamala Harris say that you support. Come into this tent. We will take care of you. Where was the left-wing mantra on that at work in those riots? No, you sat back and said you have a right to go and kill people. These people go, wait a minute. Did you talk to the business owners? 90% of them black? Saying, please help us stop this? They're taking their anger out instead on that cop Chauvin and the police department. Yeah, they're going up, but they're coming in the neighborhood, burning everything up. It had nothing to do with it. And Walsh did nothing for 5 days. And Kamala Harris bailing people out. This is just fact. And you can say you're a Trumpian, this and that. No, I'm not. I'm a common sense person with a heart and a sense of right and wrong. And when you're wrong, I don't care what political party you are, what race you are, how rich you are, how poor you are. If you're wrong, you're wrong. There's no right way to do a wrong thing. And it's a basic core of who I am, how I was raised. You don't like that? Blame my mom and daddy. Because they raised me to be that way. To judge people individually, not by their race, not by their financial situation. Treat everybody with respect. So, and then we have this equity thing that everybody should end up in the same place. Kamala Harris, you've heard it, it's all over YouTube. That, and I understand, when slavery ended, our whole black population in the South in particular started 100 years behind, okay? You're free, now go enjoy all the freedoms of society. When they weren't educated, they weren't skilled for jobs, and that sort of thing. There needed to be training. There needed to be some system to help them catch up. That was like the 20 acres and a mule thing that America never came through on. Sure, you should put a helping hand. But the dangers of a handout and affirmative action are worse than that. And a lot of black folk supported that Supreme Court decision. They saw what welfare did to generation after generation of black people, poor black people, poor white people. It just put them in a cycle of poverty that they could never get out of. And that's a whole show in itself to talk about, something earned with a job as opposed to a giveaway. That earned thing, doing something for your work, does something for your human dignity, like your self-worth as a human being, rather than somebody saying, we don't have anything we need your skills for. Here's some money, just stay home. If you want to spend it on whatever you want to. And by the way, your kids have to stay in that failing school that's in your zip code, by the way. Why? Because we're bought out by the teachers union. Well, that's too much, Autry. No, it's not. It's the truth. And I love teachers. I'm not anti-union. I'm a member of 3 of them. But I also know the rank and file and the leadership union can get out of step a lot. And it's that union leadership that have kept these kids in zip code prisons, mostly young kids and families of color, not giving them a school choice, not giving them a voucher. And that's going to be the next, I think that's the biggest civil rights battle facing right now is the public school system, the way it is set up now. So there you have the rundown, at least my rundown, on Kamala Harris and her priorities. You may differ. We've got Trump's, we got 3 minutes. We're going to speed through this. And if you're for higher taxes, she's your gal. If you're for government's answer to everything, Kamala's your gal. If you think America's systemically racist, Kamala's your gal. If you think abortion at any stage is okay, she's your gal. If you think that open border is all right, she's your gal. If you think violent responses to social grievances is a way to go, she's your one. If you believe that you can enforce equity on this country, then she's your gal. Trump, on the other hand, let's get his priorities. He wants to cut taxes and regulations so businesses can thrive. He believes in law and order, believes in tough sentencing. He believes in a secure border. If you don't have a border, you don't have a country, and is committed to secure that border. He believes we should not be at the mercy of the Middle East in terms of our energy. We should strive to be energy independent, which would bring down inflation. He believes abortion should be allowed on rape and incest. And after, so I don't know the amount of time, but I think there's a time limit on there. He believes in peace through strength. And he also understands, and has said it many times, that inflation is the biggest threat to this country's economy, and therefore the prosperity of this country and the future of this country, that inflation has to come under control. He has a plan to do that. And when you cut taxes and become energy independent, you automatically cut inflation, especially when you have your own energy supply and you can bring down energy costs. That's why immediately you would see inflation go down under Trump. So if you believe in cutting taxes and regulations, Trump's your guy. If you believe in law and order, Trump's your guy. If you believe that you have a secure border, Trump's your guy. If you believe in energy independence, he's your guy. I'm talking policy, not personality-wise. If you believe in peace through strength, not through weakness, he's your guy. And if you believe that inflation is a big threat, if not the biggest threat to our economy, then Trump is your guy. But if you're going to vote solely on personality and likability, well, I like that person better. Well, how about their policies are very hurtful? I don't care. I like the person. I don't like that person. Well, how about their policies help you and your family and your kids and help secure your future and makes life livable? I don't care. I don't like him. Or I don't like her. I mean, those are decisions we're going to have to make. So, big election coming up here. Biggest in my lifetime. Folks, thank you for tuning in. God bless you. God bless America. And just do your best and let God do the rest. And I promise it's going to turn out the way it's supposed to. Bye-bye now.
Sing a song and bring the sunny weather. Happy trails to you till we meet again. Some trails